So this past week or so has been uh, pretty crazy, bad, basically. Yeah, between the shootings and the response of some of the people and the government, as they call themselves, um, has been I can't think of a better word than like worrisome or like ominous because I mean these people just get scared and they just um it's almost like they shut down mentally and they're just like, oh, we need to it's sort of like a survival thing, I guess. And I understand um in a way I kind of get where they're coming from. Like but they're totally wrong. That's the thing. I mean, they're scared and they think it's justified to take these weapons off the street, whatever these weapons are, um and it's not because my rights don't change based on someone else's actions. They just, you can't, how would you even be able to function in a world like that if that were the case? So, I mean, we could apply that to all kinds of things because there's lots of weapons or even just, well, they're tools, really. Like a hammer, I'm saying. Okay, a lot of people die from hammers every year. No matter how, let's say like the number's pretty high. I think it is pretty high actually. Um, but at what point would people start to say, okay, hammers are being used for evil by evil people, so we need to ban all hammers or certain types of hammers or only sledgehammers, something like. I mean, there's just not the propaganda around that because that's why I don't really ever. It could happen. It wouldn't totally surprise me if it did happen like 50 years down the road somehow. But guns are portrayed in movies as a lot of bad things happen with guns in movies. Um, and I think it's a good bit of that could be done, and it's probably done intentionally. I would be surprised if it wasn't by Hollywood and whoever the producers are that are making those movies. Um, they don't show just people going to the range and shooting them all day, and having fun with their family and kids. God forbid, kids can't hold guns, but they definitely can't use them ever. Like they have to be, you know, a legal adult. Why does that even make sense? If you teach them when they're younger, they're more likely to pick it. Like you learn things better at younger ages a lot of times, like language. Um, that's actually the best time to teach them about guns and how to use them safely. Um, but anyways, the these people go into a scared like mental state and they just like shut down logically. They don't say like, hey, why, well then only the government would have guns, if we didn't have guns, and they're a bunch of psychopaths, so why would that be a good idea? I mean, I'm not just saying this. There's tons of examples of all the genocides that happened in the 20th century because of, well, I don't know if they all probably did follow gun control. I think that's actually true that they did, but I'm not 100%. Some registration, confiscation, Nazi Germany, it all, the Nazis loved gun control because they take power from the people when they do that, and they have more. There's more of a power gap between them and the people. People can't operate as a check on them so much if they can't fire back when they're being, run to concentration camps. Makes it a lot easy for the Nazi bastards to do what they did. So, I mean, you can, okay, and the stats, I was looking at that. The lowest one on the list I saw was for, what was it? Homicides by, it was gun homicides, basically, by person, which isn't even really, because self-defensive gun homicides can be good if the attacker is shot and killed when he deserves to be. Oh God, I would have to look it up to name the fun. But anyways, it was Monaco was the lowest gun homicides for 100,000 people, I believe. It was either gun or violent gun homicide, one or the other. Either way, it was zero. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know what all see, when you look at those stats though, what about all the other crime? You know, shit, it kind of makes me want to look it up now, but I don't want to stop the video to do it. But let's say you have 50 stabbings for 100,000 people a year, but you have no deaths by firearms. Is that good? No. I'm going to make another video and mention Monaco again, though. My next one, I'll do that. But the point is that people don't understand their rights at all, or they just don't care about it, really. I mean, that's the bottom line. They don't give a shit, or they don't know. Because, I mean, look, the Second Amendment, I love the Second Amendment. It's great. The problem is that people like to twist it and make it say what they want it to say. And, I mean, if they understood the underlying principle of self-defense, then, me, if the Second Amendment didn't exist, I know I'd still have that right to defend myself. It's not like it would suddenly change. What if they had said you have no right to bear arms? Would we suddenly not have a right to bear arms? No, that's not how that works. They don't get to decide what our rights are, is the bottom line. I mean, they can make claims all day long of authority and everything else, but they don't have a right to do that. Just like you don't. You can't tell me that I can't walk outside with a gun in my pocket. Neither can they. They're not, they don't just, if people understood that though, we'd be free. I mean, if they understood it, and well, you have to have a little balls. If people try to take your rights, you have to do something about it. Otherwise, the slavery shall continue indefinitely. I mean, I think, it's weird to think about how we even got to this situation. Like, it's trickery, basically, it's psychological stuff. It's just trickery to make people think that some people have an exemption from normal moral standards that everyone else is held to. Because people voted for them, and people, they wrote stuff down, basically. That's the whole thing. I mean, well, but the educational system, the indoctrination that they bombard people with, that's how they get tricked into this, and they do it at such a young age that, I mean, I guess you could look. Kids question a lot of things, but eventually they tell you don't get to ask why anymore. Basically, it's how it seems. They might not say that, but They get them to stop asking why eventually, don't they? One way or another. Until you do again. Eventually, you comes back around, hopefully, you know. Some people it doesn't, though. Some people are just done. Like, I don't know how to get them out of that shit. I mean, you can ask. I think one of the best approaches is just to ask people questions, you know, why? That might work. You know, they're less likely to fight back because it's always a back and forth. If you just tell them something they don't want to hear, they'll either reject it outright or, you know, yell at you or. I mean, sometimes it goes. It depends what you say, but don't give up your guns. Don't give up any of your weaponry to these. Well, they're Nazis. If they come, they're certainly Nazis. If they come knocking on your door and tell you to hand over your weapons when they have no right to do that at all. I mean, what do you, fucking Nazi? I mean, you can't even claim that they're a legitimate organ. Well, really, at all, you can't claim that they're a legitimate organization. But they certainly aren't legitimate when they step out of the bounds of their own, you know, documents that are supposed to bind them to certain standards. You know, they step over that. Who? How can you argue they're still legitimate in any way? Even if you do think they had special rights before and believe in the rest of it. They shit on the Constitution, then what? You know? Then they do whatever the fuck they want to do. If we're disarmed, for sure. And these people are psychopaths, and these people want to be disarmed and at their mercy. And then they think they'll be safe. That's really, really smart. It's fucking brilliant. That's a. I mean, it goes beyond ignorance in a way because it's just stupid. It. I don't know. And then there's these politicians. I was listening to the politicians for a little after these shootings because I wanted to see how evil they were going to be. And oh, they didn't disappoint. That's for sure. They came through right on time. Beto O'Rourke telling me to keep my weapons of war on the battlefield, telling us all that. What if the battlefield's in your backyard? What if something like Ferguson happens again where they shoot someone? I've never seen the video, but it doesn't sound like, if I had to bet on it, I'd say it was a crime that the cop committed, which is a lot of what they do. I mean, I'm not saying they can never do anything